This guide will walk you through the steps to manage API operation visibility by applying the Akana licensing feature. This video assumes that you are familiar with previous videos in which we explained how to create licenses, scopes, and groups. We'll explain how to apply licensing to an API product from the perspective of the API admin. To start, provide your username and password and click on Login. Navigate to APIs in the top-level menu. Select the My APIs option. With this example, we will use an API product that was created by importing the Pet Store OAS document. Click Documentation in the left-hand menu to quickly review the operations present with this API product. By default, all operations are visible. We will now apply licensing so that a given user will only see a scoped subset of operations. Licensing is configured via the API product details. Click on the Details option in the left-hand menu. Click the triangular icon to get access to additional options. Select the option to manage licensing. On the Manage Licensing page, check Enable Licensing for API. Once licensing is enabled, you can choose to apply a license scope to all operations, or decide which scope to apply to which operation. With this example, we will apply scopes to some of the API operations. Hence, select Operation-Specific Mapping. You can now select the applicable scope or scopes with every operation you want to apply a scope to. Click Select with the first operation. We like this operation to be visible to any user that has permission to see the API. Hence, we will apply a public scope. With this example, we use a public scope called Demo External. The scopes shown here have already been created at an earlier moment. If need be, review the guide that explains how scopes can be created. Click Save to save your scope selection for the operation. Similarly, we can select scopes for any other operation. Note that different scopes can be applied to different operations. Here, we can see that a private scope has been selected. As a result, this operation will only be visible to a selected group of users. The example currently shows that only some operations have been given a scope. Non-admin users will only be able to see the scoped operations. Moreover, to see the privately scoped operations, they must be associated with a license containing the private scope. Once initial scope assignment has been completed, click Save to save the settings. You can easily review the API product's visibility settings. Click Visibility in the left-hand menu. The visibility page provides an overview of the licenses that are automatically associated with the API product, based on the scopes that have been applied. Also, it summarizes the effect the scope settings have on the visibility of API resources. Licensing has now been completed for this API product. However, to determine which users may now see what API operations, one further configuration step is necessary: to invite the user groups. This is a step typically done by a business admin user. To show an example, we log out and log in again, this time as a business admin user. To retrieve the API again, navigate to APIs. Select the All APIs option. Again, we choose the Pet Store API. Click Visibility in the left-hand menu. To give particular user groups access to privately scoped operations, these groups need to be invited. Click Groups to do so. Click Invite Group to invite a first group. As an example, we will invite the Demo Internal group. This group represents users that are internal to the company. Internal users may have access to more API operations than external users. As a final step, we need to indicate which scopes apply to the group. We do so by selecting the license or licenses that correspond to the required scope or scopes. Click Edit Licenses to select the license. The use of licenses to give or restrict visibility on API operations presumes partial API visibility. Hence, check Partial API Visibility. Now, you can select the appropriate licenses. For this demo, several licenses have already been created. With this example, we will use the Demo Internal Accessibility license. Enable the license by clicking the checkbox. Click Save to save your visibility settings. The group is now associated with the API product, and the selected license is applied to the group. Members of the group will be able to see privately scoped API operations that have a scope corresponding to a scope in the license. To show that group members are able to see the privately scoped operations, we will log in as such a user. First, we log out as the current business admin user. Next, we log in as a user that we know to be a member of the demo internal group. From the API list, we select the pet store API that we just configured licensing and group visibility for. To review visible API operations, click Documentation in the left-hand menu. The user is only able to see a subset of API operations. First, the publicly scoped operations. Second, the privately scoped ones that are allowed under the license that is associated with the user's group. This guide covered the steps required to restrict API operation visibility by applying the Akana licensing feature. API admins can apply scopes to operations, which automatically associates the corresponding licenses with the API product. Privately scoped operations will not be visible to non-admin users unless they are a member of a group that is invited to the API product. Furthermore, a license containing the private scope must be assigned to the group. As the end result of applying this capability, different groups of users will be able to see all or only a subset of operations.